So now let's move toward looking at humanistic, contextual, and evolutionary perspectives. Now, with Carl Rogers and humanism, so the main tenet behind humanism is that they believe in the potential for good in humans. And Carl Rogers created this idea of the ideal self versus your real self. So, your ideal self is, of course, who you want to be down the road, and your real self is who you are today. And if there is congruity, so how closely one's real self matches up with that ideal self, our self-concept is accurate when we experience that congruence. So whenever we have a high congruence, in the sense of the ideal self equaling the real self, this leads to a greater sense of self-worth and a healthy, productive life. Whereas when there's this incongruence or there's severe detachment from your ideal self versus your real self, that can lead to maladjustment. All right. And another really important, just as an FYI and a tidbit of information, one of Carl Rogers' big contributions to the field of psychology is the concept of unconditional positive regard, or unconditional love, for lack of better terms. And this is whenever you meet somebody for where they're at, no matter what they've done or where they've been. And this creates a high sense of trust within, like in a client counselor scenario, because, and that's easier said than done, truly, because no matter meeting somebody for no matter what they've done or where they've been, we all have our biases and preconceived notions about particular actions and activities individuals engage in. And so it's hard for us sometimes to leave that at the door and meet somebody for where they're at no matter what they've done. Okay? All right. So another humanistic perspective is Abraham Maslow, and he is most famously known, one of his ideas most famously known, is the hierarchy of needs. So he created this hierarchy of needs which states, how can we worry about our self-esteem, our confidence, and our achievement whenever we don't know where our next meal is coming from, aka the physiological. So he proposed this hierarchy of needs which motivates us. So what motivates us? Well, once we've established our physiological needs, such as food, water, sleep, things like that, then we can move to the next stage of motivation, or what motivates us, which is safety, a sense of employment, a sense of morality, of health, of property. Then we can move to love and belonging. This includes family, friendship, establishing that intimacy. Then what will motivate us is esteem, our confidence, achievement, respect of others. And then we can move toward what ultimately motivates us, or becoming completely self-actualized, which is, just complete inner fulfillment in a way. And what motivates us during this time is actually giving back to our community, to our family, to those around us. All right. Then we've got Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. Now, within this theory, the qualities of a child and their environment interact to influence how they will grow and develop. So, ecological, if that's a word you've not heard of before, is your natural environment. Okay, and so it really stresses the importance of studying a child in the context of multiple environments. So he renamed the theory to the bioecological model to recognize the importance of the biological processes in development, because we know it's not just nature versus nurture, it's nature and nurture. It's both your environment as well as your genetics. So your chronosystem is the relevant historical context and time frame in which all development occurs. So you can kind of see in the figure there to the right, you've got the individual, and then you've got your microsystem, which includes like your family, your school, your peers, and your church. Your exosystem includes things like the mass media, the local politics, your neighbors. So moving out a little bit more. Okay. Now, when it comes to behavioral genetics, it's a field of study and a field of scientific research that uses genetic methods to investigate the nature and origins of individual differences in behavior, and studies the effects of heredity on behavior. So what it is that you receive from your parents, How does that influence how you behave? So behavioral geneticists strive to understand how we might inherit certain behavioral traits and how the environment influences whether we actually display those traits. So it's really often considered, especially in clinical psychology, because we know that there's a link with genetics and mental difficulties, especially when it comes to schizophrenia, depression, as well as substance abuse.